What's up, guys? On today's episode, we're going to be going over the step-by-step process to repairing scuff and scratch, in other words, curved rims, which completely drives us car guys nuts. Of course, I'm at Performance Industries. These are the best of the best. And I really wanted to see what are the steps, what do they do to get these back into the proper condition so that they're safe. Now, there's a million things that you can do to scuff them down and kind of DIY, but this particular video is on a professional level. So I wanted to give you the background view of when you bring something in to a pro, what are they going to do? And maybe that helps you in your DIY situation, I don't know, but I think understanding the process is going to help you out. So that and a lot more coming up on this episode of Drive and Protect. All the way in. So they touch up your mouth. You can hear it.
For cars that see double duty, I like to have one set of street wheels and one set of track wheels. So I searched eBay and found a cheaper set of stock R8 wheels for eventual track day abuse. But as you'd expect, they're cheaper because there's curb rash on 2 of the 4 wheels. So here are the steps and the behind the scenes look at what pros do to remove scuffs and scrapes, and then in my case, powder coat the wheels in a 3-layer process.
So the main thing that we do first is we remove the wheel and tire off the vehicle. What we like to do is we bring them here to our Hunter DSP. We put them on there. We measure the run out with the road force just to check to see if the tire and the wheel are balanced out properly. Check to see if there's any bends on the wheels themselves. It's not as scientific as putting it on our straightener, but it gives you a roundabout idea as to what's going on. This way we know where to put the wheel once we take the tire off. So once we remove the tire, if the wheel's bent, it comes over to our straightening section. Wheel comes over here to our special Brazilian Marcos, where he throws it on the wheel straightener and he measures the run out with the dial indicator. That gives him a more precise idea as to where exactly the wheel's bent, and we proceed to straighten the wheel. We want to make sure that the wheel is structurally repaired first before we even attempt to do any type of cosmetic repairs. So once that's done, the next step is to dump the wheel in our stripping tank. But it is a chemical-based stripper. It does a good job at removing the finish from the wheels without marring up the surface. A lot of people use sandblasters. We do have a sandblaster, but our sandblasters use very rarely, only in the case where there's a little material buildup left that the stripper didn't take off, and we don't use sand, we use plastic urea. What plastic urea does is it breaks on impact. It takes the finish off without damaging the aluminum. This way the aluminum is not overly porous, it doesn't get too textured. It allows us a nice smooth surface once we're done prepping it to really, get the powder coat to look nice and smooth on. On a wheel like this, that's a machine finish wheel, what you see a lot of in the repair industry is a lot of guys will take damage like this and machine past that lowest point of the damage. And the reason that's a problem is 2 things. Number one, this surface area right here, you're making it thinner and sharper. We see a lot of times these vehicles, they hit a pothole, the tire goes into the lip and gets cut because whoever machined it previous, they just machined past the lowest point of the damage. Not only that, you change the shape of the wheel. You want to kiss the surface. You want the wheel to maintain that same 2-tone CNC finish. If you don't kiss the surface, if you don't just lightly take off material and you cut past the lowest point, you take this line here and you bring it down here. Now you're changing the shape of the spoke and the style of the wheel.
But thankfully, my wheels didn't need any straightening, so we skipped Marcos' station altogether. The stripping tank is manned by Raul and reminds me of the Temple of Doom for wheels. Before the wheels go into the tank, they're quickly cleaned and scrubbed of any obvious dirt or rubber to keep the tank and liquid as clean as possible throughout the day. Then, they're hung on the rack and lowered into the stripping liquid for roughly 2 to 4 hours to remove and/or loosen the clear coat or paint, leaving a smoother, more refined finish to better match the OEM design. After the wheel crockpot is complete, the rack is removed from the tank and the wheels are power washed to remove the chewed up paint and clear. Notice how the paint, or what looks like skin at this point, slides off the metal with just the water pressure alone. No sandblasting required. What's left behind is the naked metal substrate ready to be machine sanded. This process is ideal for older or rare wheels that have intricate wires and designs that are not easily sandblasted.
These are old Packard wire wheels. As you can see, they're caked on with layers and layers of paint. These are going to go in our stripping system. They're probably going to go in there for a good 2 to 3 dunks. And as you can tell, these are old wired wheels. You're not really supposed to be sandblasting the heck out of these things. So our stripping system works wonders for old school wheels like this.
Then, the stripped wheels are washed, put up on the wheel rack, and dried before the repair process.
All right, so we just pulled these out of the stripper. We washed them. There's no more clear coat on them, but as you can see, there's still a lot of damage. It touched the metal, obviously. We're gonna start off with 180 to get most of these out, and then 320 to finish it off and leave it with a nice smooth finish so that the powder coat can grab onto something.
The trick here is to keep the tool and sandpaper as flat as possible in order to avoid changing the shape or design of the rim in the process of removing the scratch. With the curb rash lightly sanded flat, Raul switches to 320 grit and begins the refinement process. Keep in mind, the cutting and refining process took about 20 minutes per wheel, and probably longer if I wanted to keep my wheels stock or a polished look.
I know you're getting these powder coated, but if you wanted to bring these back to life and get the polished finish again, all you would have to do is sand this down with as fine as you can get it, as fine as you can get it. You start off low, depending on your damage, 180, 320, and you go all the way up to about 1500 to 2000 grit sandpaper, and then you polish after that with some others or any kind of metal polisher, and you should get something very close to this again, or at least close enough to not be able to tell that it wasn't remanufactured by the company itself.
But because these are going to be my track wheels, powder coating is the way to go, so no need to bring them back to the original shine with more refinement. Instead, leaving the surface lightly sanded promotes adhesion for the next step of powder coating. Once satisfied with the curb rash removal and polish, Raul sprays a degreaser on the wheels and washes and dries it thoroughly before bringing it back to Evan in the paint department. First, with the wheel hub masked off, the wheel itself is placed into the oven for 25 minutes. While the metal warms up, Evan places the pickup tube in the powder coat and primes the gun. Once ready, he removes the warm wheel and places an electrode on the metal frame to create a negative charge throughout the wheel, while the powder coat is dispersed with a positive charge to immediately stick to its polar opposite. Once complete, the wheel is put back into the oven for about 25 minutes at 400 degrees. Then the gun, pickup tube, and the work area is cleaned once again. Next, Evan prepares the mid-coat paint, which is basically the same thing as painting a car, it's just liquid instead of powder that will create a dusting effect or metallic flakes on the finish. Proformance suggested doing this for my track wheels so that the brake dust would not look so obvious after each track session, as they know it'll drive me completely insane. So once the first powder coat and oven bake is done, the wheel is once again removed from the oven. Then Evan lightly dusts it with metallic paint so that you have a finish that hides that extra brake dust. Once he was done with that, he sent it back into the oven for another 25 minutes to bake. Then the wheel is removed a third time from the oven and sprayed this time with clear powder coat to protect the base powder and the dusting of the metallic paint underneath it. But notice the orange peely look once he was done. Then immediately from there, the wheel goes back in for its fourth and final time in the oven at 400 degrees for another 25 minutes. Once it comes out, you'll notice the orange peel or the waviness has disappeared or flattened out perfectly for a flawless finish. Once Evan's done, he moves the wheel outside in front of a fan to cool before the next step. Once cooled, Jonathan prepares the rim for mounting and balancing.
All right, so right now I'm taking off the lug nuts that we put on the wheel to actually cover the area where the lug nuts sit, so that the lug nut sits metal to metal contact, you know? Otherwise the powder coat will actually break off while you try to tighten it, and your wheel can actually come loose eventually. All right, and then we also cover the back, the mounting pad, so there's no powder in there, which also will cause the same problem, and the hub. So now we're ready to put the tire on. All right, so the machine we have here is the Corgi Master J. So it's a touchless machine, but it's also not fully automated, which means that I control everything, like all the arms, manually. It doesn't do it by lasers or none of that. Because we don't like to trust the machine, you know, to do all this stuff. We don't like to take the risk. And even though it's touchless, we still put tape around the whole wheel, because the tire itself will actually make some markings on it because of the paint being so fresh. The lube we use is water-based, so that means it's not going to stay on your wheel. It's going to dry out and it's just going to disappear, basically, instead of leaving all that greasy stuff.
Then the wheels finished where they started, back on the road force balancing machine to make sure that they roll true, especially with the fresh set of Toyo 888s. And now, with the curb rash gone and the wheels looking amazing, especially with 2 layers of powder coat and 1 layer of paint applied, I'm now ready for the track. On the next episode, find out how the R8 feels on the track and how to maintain your detail when traveling away from home without all your tools. For more helpful how-to car care videos, visit AMMONYC.com. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.